Hello, Dr. Ray.
Hi, Dr. Ray. How are you?
I'm sure I'm going to get really good advice from you.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You're right on track with this. You're right on track.
My idea, my theory, my guidance is a bit of a stretch.
Everybody make a mistake.
Does that comfort you?
No.
Am I close?
No.
You are so wrong.
You're so wonderful.
Why do I have to be the insightful professional?
Someone intelligent on radio. Yay!
Did I make you feel a lot better or what?
No, you made me feel worse.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
Probably have to bear with me today. I'm a little tired. My normal bedtime is, I don't know, somewhere around 9 o'clock. When I was younger, 9 o'clock was just about the time you went out. 60 may be the new 40, but 9 is the new midnight. Well, last night, it's about 8:30, took a shower. I felt compelled to go out. My hair looked really good. And I thought, I can't just kind of stay at home. I had a good hair day. I don't have that many of them anymore. So I had to go out. Drugstore. Drive-through. I stopped off at Home Depot. Walking around. Not one single person commented on my hair. I went home. Went home about 9:25. Fell asleep. So I'm a little tired today, but I'll do my very best. This is The Doctor Is In. I'm Ray Garendi. This is Look Back Friday. It's a variant of The Doctor Is In. Take previous calls, edited at the capable hands of Andrew Kruchek, my producer man, my editor over there in Ann Arbor. Several calls, usually in the queue, and then we play them, and then I comment. I comment on the calls. And it's kind of scary to re-listen to something you said, because there are times when I think, well, that was dumb. And I'm not even talking about the caller. I'm talking about me. Or, why did I say that? Or, I should have gone off in a different direction. So there's a chance for me to make a few corrections, possibly, or to make it worse so we could have a look back. And I could look back on the call that I looked back on. Nevertheless, we will get to your calls. Those of you who went to college, it's about 1/3 of the American adult population, I think. That's the statistics. Maybe it's a little less than that, maybe a quarter, who went to college. And I went to college at a time when college was viewed as, oh boy, that is the automatic, quote-unquote, economic step ahead. That's not quite turning out that way, at least for a fair amount of the degrees given by college, because I saw a statistic just recently that said about 50% of the people who go to college for a Bachelor of Arts degree, maybe even a Bachelor of Science degree, do not end up working in the field that they have their degree in shortly after graduating. 10 years later, about 90% are not working in the field. And especially given the tremendous shortage of tradespeople. My brother has a company, self-employed company, where he replaces windows and doors and roofs. Now, he's the contractor. He gets the guys to do it, the subcontracts it out. And he said one of the problems they're having is that all these guys that can do this are in their 50s and 60s. Not a whole lot of 24-year-olds coming up. Mike Rowe will say the same thing. He'll say for every 5 tradespeople who retire, 2 take their place. I digress. College. I went to college. If you went to college, there's a high likelihood you had the dream that you were in class and you had not opened the book the whole semester, or back when it used to be quarters. Or you attended class for the first time, and it was too late to drop the class. That was always the panic point, you know. You always looked at, when can you still drop the class? It's too late. I've had so many of those dreams where I walked into class, opened the book. Usually it was something like chemistry, where you can't bluff your way through it. Opened the book, totally clueless about any of what was going on, and the test was coming up. Now, I've had that dream many times. Thankfully, I don't have it too much anymore. It's been replaced. It's been replaced by, I started coaching softball, 40 years ago. Basically because back then on our team, nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted to deal with it. The last, say, 20 years or so, there's been a dramatic shift in the reliability of people playing ball. When I first started coaching, you didn't miss. If you were going to miss, it better be a funeral. Your own. You didn't miss because the guys counted on you. And if you were going to miss, you gave the coach plenty of notice. You just didn't not show up. Well, the last 20 years, that's all changed. Now, if something better comes up, a ball player will say, hey, I can't make it. You got enough guys? And the rule is they call you an hour before the game. I just wanted to tell you I'm not going to be there. Of course, you can't carry 14 guys on your roster who show up at every game because 3 of them are going to get mad that they're not playing. So you juggle this. I remember the last, say, 10 or 15 years or so, I was always on edge on the day of a game. Because as I got closer to game time, I didn't want to pick up the phone. Because I knew guys were calling to say, hey, we got enough dudes? Yeah, I got something. I was swimming and I forgot we were playing tonight. Yeah, I'm 2 hours away. That happened a lot. A lot. Well, in the last 2 or 3 years, I quit coaching and I just played. Which, well, what a difference. However, the dreams have taken over. Yes, I now have many more dreams about showing up at games with not enough guys, with wondering, how did we get in this league? What did I tell the guys that were playing tonight? Had that dream last night. Showed up, game night, and I remember thinking, nobody asked me what the game time was. Nobody said, do we have enough dudes? And I looked around, and there were guys from 35 years ago that played with us, that were there. And I said, okay, well, you're going to have to play second because we don't have enough guys. I didn't have my glove. I didn't have my shoes. I didn't have my face mask. And we just had to go out on the field. Another time, we didn't know exactly where the game was. We showed up, but I didn't remember where the game was. Horrible dreams. What's my point? You tend to have dreams about stuff that has created stress in your life. Dr. Ray, come on, stress over softball games? Yes. Because when I first started playing softball, that's pretty much all we did. We didn't have computers. We didn't have video games. We didn't have all this stuff. We didn't have Wii, which came and went. We played ball. That's what we did. And so the struggle to make sure we had enough guys, but not too many guys, because you have too many guys and guys quit because they're not playing. The last, say, 20 years of my coaching career led to more and more dreams. Well, you'd think that now that I haven't coached for 3 years, those dreams would fade away. They're not. They're still there. The only good news is they've replaced the college dream. Now, I would imagine those of you who have never coached softball, men's softball, and had to worry about getting guys there year after year after year after year, would not have a dream like that. Well, those dreams have now taken over. And I guess that's good, because there would be more stressful things, I would think, in my life that I could have dreams about, but I don't. Have dreams about whether we got enough dudes or not. When we come back, got a question here I want to jump on. Let's see. Anonymous female. It's interesting. She's a female, but she's a PA. It says PA. Oh, that's Pennsylvania. Never mind. Son with social anxiety. So we'll see what that's all about. Social anxiety is pretty big these days. I'll talk a little bit about what it is I have to find out first what I said in the original call, and then hopefully I'll add something of valuable for you to it.
Resetting your password, unsubscribing from emails, printing anything. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with an auto owner's insurance independent agent, getting the right coverage for your business doesn't have to be one of them. So you can get back to more important things, like learning how that printer works. That's simple human sense.
Call Choice Insurance Agency at 734-641-4200.
Underwritten in part by the following nonprofit.
Are you paying high prices with a traditional health insurance company that pays for things that violate your conscience? There's an alternative available. Solidarity HealthShare is a community of faithful individuals and families that never share into immoral medical services, all while saving you money with prices starting as low as $85 per month for singles and $512 for families. Never fund another abortion with your healthcare dollars. Call 844-313-4999 to learn more.
You can hear Ave Maria Radio from your home computer or your smartphone, where you can access Ave Maria Radio from anywhere in the world, regardless of the time of day. All you need to do is download the Ave Maria Radio app from the App Store, Google Play, or Galaxy stores. You never have to lose signal. You never have to miss your favorite program ever again. It's what you want and how you want it. And with the Ave Maria Radio archives, it's available when you want it most. The Ave Maria Radio app. Herbert radios aren't available.
This program brought to you in part by Ave Maria, Florida, a big kind of small town where golf carts take you everywhere and there's always something fun around the corner. Discover championship golf, resort-style amenities, and a town center full of shopping and dining. With Ave Maria University and Ave Maria Catholic Church at its heart, it's a community full of connection and charm. More than 25 model homes are available for viewing. More information can be found at AveMaria.com. That's AveMaria.com.
Every time you hear something like that, just feel like going, yee-haw! I don't even know how to spell that. Y-E-E-H-A-H. This is Dr. Ray. Thanks for joining me here on The Doctor's In. Somebody's pointing out to me, several people, as a matter of fact, they didn't understand when I give the number out, 573-7825, 877-573-7825. I'll say 877-57 equal, and they won't know what equal means. They'll say, what is that? Equal to what? And it is spelling out equal with the numbers on your phone. So let me look at my phone. An E is, I should know this. E is 3. Q is 7. U is 8. And so forth. So I'm going to have to be a little more particular about that. But today is not a call day. It's a look-back day. So let's listen to a mom from Pennsylvania who is concerned about her son's social anxiety. What do you think the core issue is with your son?
A regular theme is, like, just thinking that people are talking about him in a negative way.
Yep, that's classic social anxiety.
While he's in the same room with them or on the same soccer team with them, made him quit soccer somewhere around 15, 16 years old after he loved it for like 5 years. It made him really uncomfortable going to the same classical school that he had gone to K through 8, somewhere around 9th grade. It just, a lot of things happened at that age when I wonder if some of it got teenage hormones a little bit, exasperating something.
Well, you're detailing
some trauma from the past. I don't know.
You are detailing some of the typical features of social anxiety. One is the onset is often in the teen years.
Yeah.
2, seems to be a temperament, a sensitive, oversensitive kind of temperament that was there from the get-go. So is he at home now with you?
Yep. Just turned 22.
Is he venturing out to a job? Is he doing something?
He did for a solid year, and he actually was doing, in a way, a lot better because he had a goal of applying to a small college, a classical Catholic college that he had friends at, and he was trying to get his ducks in a row for that. This time last year, he was working about 30, 35 hours a week in order to leave time to try to study for entrance exam for that. And
what made him leave the job, Mom?
He didn't get accepted. In August, he found out he wasn't accepted at this college.
So he quit the job?
He just felt, So, yeah. So that's his logic.
Uh-huh.
I was going to go away to college if that got accepted. And
so I'm going to assume that
didn't happen. So
this young man,
just feel like, I don't know what.
Okay, I'm going to assume that this young man is living at home and right now kind of drifting.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that's a bigger problem than his social anxiety?
What do you mean? A different description of the living at home being a problem?
Yeah. In other words, he doesn't seem to want to launch, and his view is, I'm too insecure to take a chance on doing anything that would require adult responsibility.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, gotcha. So what are you going to do about it?
Priest counsel, a therapist who he is willing to see and has been seeing loosely for about 5-6 months, will say consequences must be in place. And we definitely...
The therapist says that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a pretty strong idea about what consequences I've been muttering about when it's just between my husband and I. We both procrastinate because of the constant moodiness of this young person.
You're afraid.
A little bit of, that he has been known to be so despairing that we're not sure if he's self-harm possibilities.
Okay, a couple of things. If you can get your son to give you permission to talk to his therapist, go in, talk with the therapist, and tell the therapist your reluctancies, what they're all about. See what the therapist has to say about this. Okay, I'm not going to weigh in because your son has seen someone. See what the therapist has to say. And then see what, in fact, the future's likely to hold if you say to yourself, I'm afraid of his moodiness, and therefore I'm going to allow him to stay at home and drift, which I think your therapist is probably saying that's not a good thing, which I'm glad to hear that from a therapist.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you need to do. If you called me and said, well, what can I do to make him not be socially anxious? A lot of it's coming down to he has to change his thinking. His thinking is people are judging me, people are critiquing me, they're looking for my flaws, and I can't take it, and I dwell on it, and it makes me insecure, and I have to run and escape and retreat from it because the anxiety gets too bad, and I just can't deal with it. And that's what's going through his head. And a good therapist is going to hopefully challenge that and take it all apart so that he recognizes that the anxiety that he's experiencing is his own creation by bad thinking. Yeah. And until he gets to that point, until he says to you, hey, Mom, I realize what I'm doing to myself here. But at this point, I don't think he's saying that because it doesn't sound like you're saying he's saying that. It sounds like he's just saying, well, what do you expect me to do?
He sees it. Crippling social anxiety. I have crippling social anxiety. He owns it. And he hates this about himself, and he wants to change. He has his own little idea of, I'm going to try to go to a certain young adult group, for instance, that he often, and I want to go my way, my pace.
You're saying, okay, he wants to go at his own pace. The question becomes, is his pace going to be coincidental with your pace? In other words, a year from now, if he's still at his pace, is that going to be your pace? I mean, that's where I think those two lines are going to cross at some point. So go in and talk with his therapist. Maybe you can get reassured about how to deal with this, and I would expect that his therapist has explained many, many times over what his anxiety is, and it's nothing to be feared. I'm working on a book about anxiety, and one of the chapters is social anxiety. One of the questions in the chapter is, why do some people care so much about what others think? A key component to social anxiety is other people are scrutinizing my behavior. They are judging me, and the judgments are going to be negative. And negative judgments are awful and terrible. So what is it about the human condition that makes us vulnerable to that kind of thinking? Can we just simply say, well, some people are wired more insecure than others, and therefore they're more susceptible to overthinking in social situations? He quit the soccer team because, well, maybe the guys were thinking he ain't that good. And what if they were? See, that's the other thing. What if, in fact, someone is judging you in a social situation? What does that mean? If you're not doing anything morally wrong, if they just have their own opinion. I did a talk to a group of alumni women, very proper group, years ago. It's a college group. At the end of the talk, a lady kind of looked at me and pointed at my pants. My zipper was down. It had been down the whole time. And I was thinking to myself, why didn't somebody point this out to me at the beginning? Now, I don't stand behind a podium when I speak. Maybe I should. At least I wouldn't notice. So you can't exactly surreptitiously zip up your pants. It's not something you can do, and people are going to say, I didn't even notice it. He's so quick. Sleight of hand. Now, would that be a cause for me for social anxiety? Would I shoot out of there as quick as I could, not wanting to talk to anybody, not even selling books, giving up a chance for some profit? No, I didn't. Why? Because I told myself that kind of stuff happens. Anytime you're around people, they're going to have an opinion about what you say and what you should say, what you didn't say, how you acted, how you didn't act. That's just typical. And until you get to that point to realize that, you're susceptible to social anxiety. I know there are a lot of you listening right now. You've cut out activities that you really would like to do, but you're just afraid because, well, you're not going to be very good at it. Or somebody might think, what's she doing here? She doesn't know anything about the Bible. Why would she come to Bible study? And she made a couple comments that just showed that she's just ignorant about the faith. You realize what social anxiety does? You realize how you get caught up in worrying so much about what other people think that you cut out activities that could have great reward for you. Ask yourself a simple question. Why am I so caught up and so concerned about what others think? Especially in situations where after the situation's over, they ain't going to be thinking about you at all. Much of the time, they don't even know you. You're at a party and a lot of these people are strangers. And so you spilled wine on your sleeve. Okay, so you did. How awful is that? The whole time you were talking to that lady, you had lettuce in your teeth. Well, hopefully when you go to the bathroom, you can clean it out. You realize it, you look in the mirror. Are you going to be afraid to go back out again? Get another piece of lettuce? Look Back Friday here on The Doctor Is In. Let's take a question, and then hopefully I will have something to say after the question. Vanessa from Texas says she has a defiant, mind you, 2-year-old. Is this your idea or your mother's?
No, it's my mother's, but I mean, I'm open to talking to you, of course.
What did she do? You're sitting there, you're taking a nap, and she calls here.
I had to put my son down for a nap, and I've also not been feeling well, but, and I just had a new baby about 3.5 weeks ago. That's where I'm at. And I came home to San Antonio from San Angelo to be with her for a couple of weeks.
Why did your mom think that she had to set you up to call me?
Well, her 3 kids didn't have that many problems when she was raising them. The problems came later on in life. So younger in life, they were disciplined. My mom's from India. And we were all disciplined, very straightforward. I mean, we didn't defy her. We didn't defy her. We didn't look at her and, do the opposite of what she asked us to do. My father's Caucasian from America. My mom moved here legally. Met him in Houston. And anyway, so I'm raising children in the America we live in. I just had a brand new baby. And my firstborn, who's about 2.5 years old, he's very defiant, very,
Vanessa, would I shock you if I said your 2-year-old is not defiant?
No, you wouldn't shock me, but you'd shock my mom.
Here's what I mean. Your 2-year-old is just doing what comes naturally.
That's exactly what his father told me.
So, because of that, you're going to have to teach him out of his defiance. Now, he's 2.5. He's probably old enough to be placed in timeout, whether you put him in a playpen or you strap him into his high chair.
Sure.
You can do that. He's old enough. And if you said he just threw a phone at you, okay, so what are you going to do about that? You can't just yell at him for throwing the phone at you. You can't just say, we don't throw phones at Mommy. You have to do something about it. You have to show him that if you do that, son, there's going to be results, and Mommy is going to enforce those results. Vanessa, I got to tell you, what you describe, I hear from, I'm going to say, at least 50% of parents with 2-year-olds. Which is defiance, strong-willed, difficult, challenging, oppositional, high maintenance. These are 2-year-olds. That's what they do. Your son is totally unsocialized. He doesn't have any impulse control. He's going to do what comes to him at the moment. And you're the one who's going to have to teach him out of that, and that'll make him just... Go ahead, dear.
I feel like I do a decent job recently with a new baby. I've been getting a little bit more aggressive, which I don't like. Like, I grabbed his arm yesterday, and I pulled him, and I said, don't do that. And I didn't like that because
you're getting frustrated.
I'm not aggressive.
Well, you're getting frustrated.
And,
wait a minute. Hold on. Stop right there. Stop. You said, I grabbed his arm, and I said, don't do that. Okay, what'd you do about it?
I mean, I put him in timeout after I said, I'm sorry, I grabbed your arm. And then when he came out of timeout, I sat him in my lap. I told him I loved him, and I told him what he did wasn't okay.
So when he does it the next 27 times, you do that again the next 27 times. You're probably thinking, well, I did that, but 8 minutes later, he's going to do it again. Sure. That's kids. That's what they do. See, parents think, well, I tried that, and tomorrow he did it 2 more times, so he must be defiant. No.
It's a matter of me controlling my emotions when I handle him, and I have to, and so does Garrett, his father, and we're doing our best, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. He goes to a school, and they enforce learning, and they enforce, this type of school he goes to, which a lot of people may not agree with, They don't enforce yelling, screaming. They tell me, don't say no. You don't tell your
Don't say
son
no. You're going to a school where they're telling you don't say no. If you're being told by child development people you don't say no, my experience as a clinical psychologist dealing with thousands of parents is that you're going to get very frustrated. You're going to get very frustrated. You're not going to like what you're going to be like, and the kid's only 2 years old. And you're thinking to yourself, holy mackerel, if I can't handle a 2-year-old, what's going to happen when he's 12? So given that, you may be doing some things that aren't working real well. And if he's going to a certain school and they're telling you, gee, we don't say no, we get down and we do gentle parenting and we talk with him and we explain it to him, that's all well and good. But you better be prepared to do something about it, because my office is filled with parents who say, I know I did what the books told me, and I did what his preschool told me, and he's 6 years old, and I can't stand my kid. And you don't want to get to that point. Oh, boy, so many things to comment on, and I'm going to bump up against the break. Why do so many parents think that not just 2-year-olds, but kids in general are strong-willed? Or 8 going on 18. She's 8 going on 18. Difficult child. I always tell them that's redundant. Why is this? So many parents think this. And I think part of the reason is, one, you're having a whole lot less kids. So you don't get a sense of, by kid number 4 or 5, what kids are like. That's one. But another one is the experts. The experts have just swamped parents with the idea, and I think it is a core notion, and it has colored, it has colored what her child development people are telling her in this little preschool class. You don't say no, because children are naturally cooperative. They want to get along. They want to please. If they understand clearly what you would like from them, well, then they'll do it. Oh, Mother, of course, why didn't you just say so? I've been so blind. I see what you're saying. That's why you're the grown-up. You explain it so clear to me now. This is a little kid. Parents used to instinctively know. Little kids don't get this. That's why you got to train them and instruct them. But now we've got this idea that, whoa, man, he's defiant. You know what that implies? That implies that there's something unusual about him. Because, see, the average kid isn't defiant. The average kid is cooperative. What? No, the average kid is not cooperative. The unusual kid is cooperative. The normal kid wants to do what he wants to do. And that's why he's got parents. And it's okay to say, this is the way we're going to do this. I want to talk more about this when we come back, especially that don't ever tell a child no thing. Oh, man. All right, when we come back, don't tell me you're leaving. I'll say no. '60s, Rockford Files, Magnum P.I., tough names. This is Dr. Ray. I want to continue with Vanessa talking about her defiant 2-year-old. Her mom was from India, and I don't really know some of the ideas in terms of child rearing in that culture, and it isn't a uniform culture anyway. But that said, it sounded like her mom was thinking, hey, kids should obey from almost out of the womb here. And, of course, when this 2-year-old is doing what 2-year-olds do and challenge and resist, Mom is telling Vanessa that, well, wait a minute, you got a defiant kid on your hand. You got to stop this. Well, Mom's partly right. You do have to stop it, but it's not defiance. Wow, okay, if you want to define it that way, but It isn't willful defiance. It is a 2-year-old defiance, which is, I don't understand why I can't do what I want to do. And Mom said that this little one is in a program, preschool type setting, where Mom was told you don't use the word no, right? Now, the rationale for that, according to many child development people, is no is a negative term that squashes a child's natural curiosity. You don't say no, you give them an alternative. Instead of saying, don't throw the ball at your sister's head, you say, throw the ball outside. Because if you say don't throw the ball at your sister's head, that's just, it's a limit. And it's a limit that will only teach the child what he can't do as opposed to what he can do. Now, see, that all just sounds so wonderful on paper. But one of the themes of teaching a child how to live well in this world is to parallel much of the way the world operates as you love right alongside of it. Because, see, the world generally doesn't love right alongside of it like a parent does. I'm zipping down the interstate at 77 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. No, let's make it 65. Because 55, that's more than 50 miles an hour over, and then I would have to appear in court. Okay, so let's drop it back. 65 mile an hour speed limit, and I'm going 76, 77. So I get pulled over by a state trooper. And he says, you're not supposed to go that fast here. And I say, officer, is that a no? Is that like a no speeding? Yes, that's a no speeding. Well, wouldn't it be better if you said something like, sir, please stay within the speed limit? Because no is very negative. And no kind of squashes my natural curiosity to get somewhere fast. Oh, I would probably speed my way into a ticket if I talk like that. If your boss says, you're supposed to be here at 9, no coming in after 9. Well, what's he doing? Come on, another one of these negative. Don't be so negative. No does not stifle at all a child's curiosity. It puts reasonable limits upon it so that he can function well, because many of the things that a parent says no to will hurt the child, or at the very least will keep him from maturing at a nice pace. Is one other, actually, speculation I could make from Vanessa's call, which is, if she was told by the child development people never say no, I wonder what other elite, enlightened parenting notions that she has gotten and been told. Because she expressed a lot of frustration with her little guy. If he frustrates her, in some respects, it's probably because she doesn't expect him to act that way. If you expect him to act that way, you're not as frustrated. Yes, you have to put effort into dealing with it. But the frustration is less because you're not saying he shouldn't act this way. Of course he should. He's 2.5. He's going to do that stuff. If you expect it, you're not as frustrated with it. If you don't expect it, if you think he's acting outside the norm of a 2.5-year-old, then you're going to be wondering, what am I doing wrong? What could be wrong with him? What is happening here? I really believe that in so many ways, so many expert theories have done quite a number on parents. Quite a number. Matter of fact, my first book, You're a Better Parent Than You Think, came out of that notion, as when I was in my 20s, seeing parents at the mental health center, and I saw so many of them trying to be psychologically correct in their child rearing, and it was really affecting them. I'm not saying you can't learn. I'm not saying you can't get better. I'm not saying you can't pick an idea here and there from experts. Of course you can. What I'm saying is, if you're just hyper anxious about whether you're doing it the right way, psychologically speaking, you could bring on more problems for yourself in terms of lack of authority, lack of self-confidence. Oh, Andrew, I'll tell you what, I better take the break now, right? And then we'll take the break, and and we'll come back with one more call. This is Dr. Ray here on The Doctor Is In. Talk to you in a sec.
We'll return after these messages.
Today's programming on 990 WDEO is brought to you in part by Give 'em Our Day sponsor, Bulldog Catholic at the University of Minnesota Duluth with Father Mike Schmitz. Over the last 20 years, Bulldog Catholic has grown beyond the borders of Duluth through Father Mike's collaboration with Ascension on projects like the Bible in a Year podcast and his Ascension Presents videos. Their goal is to do their best to make sure every person involved with Bulldog Catholic, both local and national, feels seen, known, and loved. Learn more at bulldogcatholic.org.
Location, location, location. These are the three most important factors in real estate. The same might be said for colleges. Trudging through snow to get to an 8 a.m. statistics class is a much different experience than breezing by a palm tree to the raucous applause of a laughing gull. With the average temperature of 84 degrees and wetland nature as your backdrop, it's no wonder students tend to stay once they visit our campus. Ave Maria University, your future location, location, location. Visit avemaria.edu.
Strained or broken relationships are a given in most of our lives. Friends fall away, siblings drift apart, children sever ties with their parents, and despite our best efforts, these painful fissures are difficult to mend. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray. If you want to learn how to communicate better with the difficult people in your life and be a more easygoing, more forgiving person, check out my book, How to Get Along with Almost Everybody. Check it out, and all my other books on the store page at AveMariaRadio.net. That's AveMariaRadio.net.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866 Ave Maria or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
Thank you for joining me. Dr. Ray Guarenda here on The Doctor Is In. Variant E-Person Money. Got time to squeeze one more in. Eric is calling from Idaho. His uncle does not like his morals. Not uncle's morals, Eric's morals.
My uncle is far from a moral person, in my opinion. And that stems from how when he grew up and then he went to the Navy. And currently, the last time I talked to him, he's like, I have a problem with your morals, and I don't want you to talk to me until for Christmas, and that's it. So you don't need to come around my house, and I don't want to have dinner or anything like that. And I'm asking, do I go forward? How do I go forward, or I just pray?
Why are you doing that, Eric? Why are you doing that? Why are you telling your uncle, if you're such a sinner, I don't want to have anything to do with you? Why would you do that?
No, he told me that.
Oh, he told you that. Okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah, he told me. Sorry.
You're too moral for him. He just doesn't like.
Because I say, be well and God bless. And one time he heard me using expletives as I hung up, and that was too much for him. And that was months and months ago.
Okay, let me understand. He has trouble with you because you are a moral individual, or he has trouble with you because he thinks you're an immoral individual?
He thinks I'm immoral because when I say goodbye, I say be well and God bless.
Interesting that he thinks that's immoral.
Right.
So he's saying that a religious perspective is not something he wants to have anything to do with.
Right, and he's specifically mad because there was one day I was really frustrated with him, and as I was hanging up the phone, I was using an expletive. That beep, yeah. Why
would he care that you're using an expletive that he doesn't like if he's not a religious guy? And part of his problem with you is...
Because that's not respectful, and he thinks because he's older, he demands respect. And what's ironic is he taught me that, I try to give respect to everybody, but if you're going to do things over and over and over again, not showing respect for even life, then I'm not going to continue to give that respect.
He thought you were cussing him.
Well, I was. You didn't just think it. I was cussing him because I was frustrated with the situation.
You didn't drop the big bomb on him, did you?
Yeah. I was I said, I was hanging up the phone and I was mad. So, yeah.
So, since then, have you apologized?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and he won't accept it?
Nope. He thinks because I'm, like I said, because I'm wrong, because I say, be well and God bless at the end of every conversation, whether it be in person or not.
What if you stop doing that?
He would find something else, in my opinion, because, this is my opinion, but we've got a lot of alcoholics on that side of the family, and yeah, that he's going to be a bitter old man by the time he leaves this world, and I feel that would suck, and I don't want that for him.
He's telling you he just really doesn't want to have anything to do with you.
Correct.
Well, about the only thing you can do is say, Uncle, I'm so sorry that you're thinking that way. I don't want to not have anything to do with you, but I can't do anything about it until you decide you want to have some kind of contact with me. So until then, be well and God bless. No, don't say that. Don't say that. That's kind of like sticking a finger in his eye. You don't want to do that. But you more or less give him some closure. Say, well, I really don't want it to be this way, Uncle, but I'm certainly open if you come back around. Now you're saying he says, I'll see you at Christmas time, right?
Right.
All right. And you're asking, how do I relate to him at Christmas time? Well, you be pleasant. You be civil. You don't throw any hostility at him. You don't dredge up. I don't understand why you're like that. There's no problem with be well and God bless. That's just leave it alone. Let it go. Realize you'll be provoking him if you drag it back up.
Right.
Just be pleasant with him as though he were an acquaintance that somebody brought to Christmas Eve, and you're just welcoming them and saying pleasant things to them. And that's the way I would do it. You can't make everybody like you.
Right. And it's just my concern is, like I said, his eternal soul. I'm not exactly trying to be buddy with everybody because I don't know. I feel bad because
Eric, I understand that. I understand that you'd be concerned about his eternal soul. But I'll tell you what.
It's not worth it.
Of all the people I know, there's a whole bunch that I could be real concerned about their eternal souls. And I have to do what I can do to treat them well or to pray for their eternal soul and then trust the rest up to God. I can't bring them around because they don't want to be brought around. They aren't the slightest bit interested in their eternal soul.
Well,
always perplexes me as a psychologist, that's for sure. Self-interest would make you say, well, I'm not sure this God thing exists, but what if it does? I better check into it. Nope, there's something about us that we can ignore it all the way to our last breath. I think part of the dynamic here is when Eric fired off the cuss word. If someone doesn't accept, tolerate your religious beliefs, if you act counter to those beliefs in the slightest way, Eric basically got frustrated with his uncle, and he fired off a curse word. It would be easy to say, you see? Now, Uncle didn't say this, but I think he thinks it. You see? See exactly? This is what you religious people are like. Oh, yeah, you're all high and holy mighty, but you're just as nasty as the rest of us. The only difference between me and you is I at least talk as I act. You talk and you don't act. Now, that'd be my guess, which, of course, puts an unfair demand on religious folks, which is if somebody knows you're trying to be a good, faith-filled follower of Christ, what they would call religious, then you better be real careful, because you're not allowed the slightest slip-up, because they can glom onto that and say, see, you're just a hypocrite. I better take a quick break. Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't have to take a break, do I, Andrew? I already took my break, right? Oh, I can talk some more. Good. That's very good. I was in a Bible study one time, and somebody said, why are people so upset at us as Christians for our moral stance? And a common answer was, well, down deep they know that what we're saying is right. There's a little flicker of morality in them, and that's threatening the way we act. And I thought, that could be it. But I think just as likely is, am I a jerk about my supposed holiness? In other words, if I'm going to talk and clearly have standards that are different than their own, how do I come across with those standards? So Eric had a natural reaction. He got frustrated. Now the uncle knows how Eric thinks. And maybe the uncle was waiting for a slip-up. Because the reason I think that is that uncle totally wrote him off. He said, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. At all. So what is it about Eric's conduct that was so threatening to the uncle? If I had time to talk a little more, I'd say, okay, Eric, what other kinds of interactions have you had with your uncle like this? Is it that he is just completely threatened by anyone who thinks differently than he does in a moral sense? Or is he doing things that he knows he's got conflict about? And your breathing makes him aware of that conflict. Gotta run. Thank you so much for joining me here. As always, the only eternal walk you have, the walk that is more infinitely important than all walks.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.